I also want to disclaim, just because I'm a teacher and stuff, like, or if something's said or whatever, I want to make sure, Andreas, that like it's edited or anything that I would say that might compromise my job or whatever.
Yeah.
I don't think I will, but I don't know. Who knows what we'll talk about and where this will
All
go.
right. I will do my best. Let me know if you say something that you immediately think, yeah, here's one.
Oh, I totally will. So don't worry about that. I just hoping you'd be willing to edit out or something. Okay, cool.
You know, I know all you're about. I got a friend who's into. He's not into. He is a teacher, and he likes this stuff, but he can't dig too deep.
Yeah, can't post anything, or yeah, it's
Nothing. It's like yeah, but and I told him like a couple of weeks ago, if I start convincing you about the flat Earth and you start telling that to your kids, you're going to lose your fucking job, man. So let's
yeah. Oh yeah, that's. I
not
mean,
talk about that stuff.
they'll call you in the office, and
Yeah.
if you talk about the dairy industry, that's how. I mean, for me, I started talking about dairy, and then it was like, shh. So,
Yeah,
like that's a no. So
gotta drink your cow milk. Have to eat your cheese.
oh well, and you have to not organic either. It's there's anyway. It was just a
Yeah.
it's an interesting position to be in when you start to wake up. That's for sure, because it's a lot of you're torn. So
yeah.
but that's why we have the Discord, so we can come and talk about important things. Hopefully,
Yes. Things
problem.
things that matter to us.
Yeah, let's be the prime movers here, paradigm shifters, because it's time.
Yeah, it's time.
Yeah, I'd say.
Wake some people
Coming
up.
together of all that knowledge.
Or at least just confirm things with each other so that we know, have a better idea of what's going on. I don't know. So are we recording? We're starting the show here. This is on.
No, you told me not to record, so we're quote unquote not recording.
We're quote unquote always not ever recording on record.
That is splendid. Now I feel like I can say anything. That's awesome. Okay.
Power is yours.
So I guess for when we move forward here, I was talking earlier about just tracking the pre and post data to kind of coattail off of what you were talking about last week with the lava. While they're casting and finding basalt all over. And has that always been, or when did we start finding these composites? Because if we're using this as tech for destruction, there should be the geological evidence that no, it wasn't here. And then after, let's say, the 1812, or after the the Carrington event, or the different events we've had, seeing what the composites are now in the same area, because if they've tested the same areas, which they go do, it should show different, they're finding different elements. And then it's like, now we have physical evidence of that. So I think if we can get in like a radio chat and kind of hammer that out, that would be really good for future show, because I wanted to kind of have that, but it's going to take a long time to just even get the data for a couple locations that we're kind of skeptical about the destruction. I thought it was super interesting that the rebar and the concrete will be decimated, but then if you have a building that's built with I think he was talking about just the basalt, it's non-destructible. So it's the buildings that withstand were the buildings that were built with the material that's destroying the other buildings. It's, I wanted to hear more on that, if anybody knows about the destructive forces that were used. Anyone?
Well, one thing I've been thinking a lot about is like when we look at the Fresnel lenses and seeing the use of light. That's something that I've been very interested in. I've been noticing that there's a lot of evidence for melting and sintering and putting things together with solar. There seems to be like a lot of people growing crystals right now for that purpose in the military and even for NASA, just in general for intelligence. It makes me wonder about crystal growth over the centuries, because it's not that new of a field. it's been well documented since the 50s, but even by the 50s, it was already a pretty grown idea of growing crystals and learning how to stack atoms, which, you know, different materials, studying different materials in their purest forms led to most of our modern chemistry. So also to more of our modern idea of weaponry. And, you know, even just looking at the sarcophagus of Tutankhamun, who said, you know, like, if you open this box, if you open this tomb, and you'll find in the crypt a disease that no doctor can diagnose, which is, you know, pretty accurate curse. And it might be that there's something to that, because it's not that, you know, people always said, oh, well, it's not a curse then because it's an actual thing. Well, no, the curse was literally what it said. So maybe we just need to start looking into biological chemical warfare, frozen viruses. You know, we're talking about finding viruses that are frozen in ice that we're starting to thaw. You know, maybe there's something, you know, about these ancient technologies that are really similar to the ones that we have right now and are just starting to discover. Especially, that's the ones I'm most concerned about. It seems like we haven't had any experience with them yet. Those might be the closest thing to whatever might have destroyed, have the biggest impact that we couldn't anticipate.
So, like the biological weaponry that was just to wipe out everybody, the plagues and such?
Yeah, but biological weaponry, for the most part, you would think of as just to incapacitate a city, so you can take over a city state. However, looking at these plague and zombie-esque scenes in the plague that would have gone down, where there weren't just fallen over bodies, but they were running around, you know, adrenaline junkie kind of style, like attacking each other and, you know, biting each other. There's episodes of that as well. So it could be that it sent people into mass hysterias that helped them destroy cities too. But the diseases are important because, you know, we look at these places like in Italy where they have these major Tertiary city states, these island like, you know, fortresses, and what we know about them basically is that they were used for housing plague victims and for studying the plague. So maybe there's something to their ability to hold, to be isolated and to stay clean.
So I had just had this idea watching Full Metal Alchemist. What if star quartz were giant transmutation circles?
Mm-hmm. Well, they look like that, right? They look like they're the alchemical symbols in the Goetia pretty often.
That's just it. I was watching it earlier, Full Metal Alchemist, and I'm really like, oh, wait a minute.
Oh, yeah?
But is there a link to the shapes then of which ones were used for what type of either tech or development of transmutation, I guess?
We're pretty sure that the battery thing is worldwide, like the ones that Ethan is now walking around on. That's a worldwide phenomenon. These things are everywhere. Every coastline, every riverfront has these things.
Okay.
Transmutation circles that are basically maps of the order of interaction between elements. So you might have a recipe that requires water and stone and fire, but when you use them, you need to use them in the right order or else they won't work. And also they produce new ingredients, which then those three ingredients are the fundamental final transition. So these all have different purposes, but in general they relate to getting something from a awareness that is beyond the corporeal realm. So you could really often associate that with Goetia, and Goetia is basically where most people have heard about these kinds of things, about spirits that are associated with alchemical manifestation. But yeah, in terms of like the cartoon Full Metal Alchemist, it's interesting you bring it up. I mean, I've been thinking about it too. You know, the guy has to lose his hand in the fire, and he loses his brother doing it wrong. You know, his brother's body only, rather. And so then you've got this whole story of different points on the star map, like you've been showing, where each one of the maps is a location that the star map has been, you know, connected to another star map in this giant ley line pattern of star maps. And then each one of those manifests a different element. So in today, what do we have? We have factory towns. So they turn stone into metal, or they extract cobalt from, the parts of the Congo, or in other places they take they take minerals, they grow trees, they make paper for the rest of the world. So we've actually created pretty similar today with the cappuccino economy, this alchemical system of starship states. It makes sense that it would have existed back then too.
Well, also just relating to that, you could have the consideration that at one point the ancients or the knowledgeable ones would have potentially tried to facilitate heaven on earth, because if it's as above, so below, that these star forts could be easily aligned with certain constellations, and so thus facilitating the necessary rituals related to that constellation, if done correctly and understood properly.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking when we're looking into even just star maps or trying to figure out, learning about fixed stars. And I think that's important with the, I guess, especially rotating forts, if they're being, they're using some type of energy or light to charge or trigger the mechanism that's causing it to spin and why it would spin. And that might be related to, again, for alchemy reasons. Or
have you guys seen the spinning out? I forget if you've seen the spinning island in Argentina. You guys saw that, right?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Just for a
yeah.
real quick update, since it's on the same subject, I'll show a picture of it. There's these islands, actually several, but what they do is they are on a lake.
I have not personally.
Oh, this thing moves. So it moves around and rotates.
Yeah.
Make it stop making me have cookies. Oh well. No, Mir, you lose. But here's the deal. This guy will move around here and then to there, and it might work on electromagnetism, sort of like a spoon in a bowl that can be used as a compass, a metal spoon though. So it seems like what that infers is that there's actually metal in this floating island in Argentina, and there's been a number of other ones found that do similar things. So all naturally, just with the electromagnetism.
Wow.
Yeah, that's interesting. And I think it also goes back to like the star forts having multifaceted uses, that we should start looking at it in a way where it's like we can't just say it's just war or it's just one circumstance. I think we have to consider that the ancients, being who they are, were individuals who would have thought it out through many different processes, and so every action would ripple through multiple layers of existence, from as above, so below, but as well as on the material plane of needs, such as shelter and safety and a place of war too, if necessary in that process, but as well as on the metaphysical realm too.
Yeah, the multi-purpose thing is pretty much for sure for me. Doesn't make sense some of the locations these things are in to just be war purposes. Some of the shapes of them make no sense for war purposes either.
Is this working? I can't tell if you're able to see this or not. Is that appearing or not, that video on my
Now
screen?
it is now.
Okay, so earlier this month, Athander, Ethan, and I went around San Francisco, and we were checking out some of the old buildings inside and out throughout San Francisco. One of the weirdest places that we were looking, and both of us had places we wanted to go see, and then we found other places. But Ethan showed me was at the dunes, which is where you'd think you wouldn't find too much but sand, except you find tons of examples, bricks from old San Francisco that's been shattered. And once you get to the more expensive $50 million houses, you start to see recycled amounts of those bricks. But in the old buildings, you can see all sorts of examples of old Tartarian style art that just doesn't fit in unless it's been brought back with just the most strengthful fervor, and in every circumstance, it has so much occult symbolism. It just really like makes it makes allusions to the fact that there's a basement underneath here. That this is just the tip of. And then all around the building, you'll find. Oh yeah, I should mention also. There's these giant windmills. I think they're the largest windmills in the world. Is that correct? The 2 largest windmills in the world, or the largest of their kind. And they're right.
Yeah, I believe so. Because Jeffrey checked that out, I believe.
Yeah, there's somewhere on here it says something about it, but like we found, basically these not too far from the Freemason temple where the water and power plant is, just further down, or was it closer to the Golden Gate Park? I forget exactly. But there's there's 2 of them. And you'll notice if you look up close to it, it's got this rotating gear that allows the entire top of the building to spin with the wind. This green part here, it spins the building only at the top so that it can move with the wind, and it's got little gears with little teeth to pull it. And then inside of it, you can only assume what there is because so much of it, probably I think they said it in the paperwork that it was stripped and changed, but you can see this steam vent below it, which is pretty interesting. That there's a let's get to right here, right behind the turbine. Here's this vent, and then the vent allows things to come out of the ground, which is like, what kind of generation of energy have they got there? And then just right further across from the 19th Avenue in the Scotch Rite Temple is this water and power plant, which says, "Let thy fountains be dispersed abroad and rivers of water in the streets."
What are you trying to build a new Venice then?
Yeah. And San Francisco probably looked a lot like Venice a long time ago when Venice was surrounded in dunes. Here's also some examples of recycled brick. We're noticing old brick that's been picked up and put back in, and rocks and things from San Francisco area. So, but then in front of them, they've got these kind of statues, and it makes you think, okay. And then, these giant doors that have been cut in half. Actually, that was France. That last one. Turtle with a sundial on his back at the De Young Museum.
Yeah, that turtle was really fascinating.
This also I found pretty interesting. It's just in front. What building is this again?
That's City Hall.
Right. And then influences upon humanity. I remember we saw a lot of people doing tar in front of the influences upon humanity building, and I couldn't help but think that was interesting. On the left side of the brother, you see the physical path, and on the right side, you see the spiritual path in terms of his craft, and then in terms of his aim. On the Masonic Temple near the City Hall, and then inside the Scotch Rite building, we saw all these pictures of like old San Francisco, the way they were drawn. But it's funny now looking at this. We're like, I doubt some of this stuff because you only see these very short buildings. These buildings only go up maybe 3 stories, and we're starting to hear more about pagodas and things. So that might be true, but it might be that's because it's 1863, so it's already pretty much gone. But you will find a lot of basements. You'll find a lot of fountains everywhere, very Naples-style fountains. You'll find all of these half-built buildings where the bottom has been lifted, and then they've been doing a lot of construction. So they show you. We were lucky enough to see how they're doing that, how they've done it in the past, where they pick up the building on all fours and they put a new building foundation underneath it, but just stripping the basement. Pyramids everywhere, like crazy pyramids, sideways houses embedded into the ground. What was the there was one thing I thought it was like the Disney area.
Oh, near the Presidio?
Yeah.
Where the military bases are too?
Yeah, next to the military bases, Disney purchased, I think, actually parts of the military housing. And where was that? Well, there's a lot of footage here. You know, we've got decent amounts of information about how this is done in San Francisco, that they've put in the most expensive places, kind of hidden away. Some of the oldest statues, some of the oldest stone, you know, the oldest stone gets recycled. That even bears interesting. I mean, you guys have heard the story about the F and the Ford. I noticed that I saw that, and it's got another cover story, but still. The rusted old pipes. I think that Bay Academy, was that it? Oh yeah. Also near this area here where there's just these crazy concrete turrets that have been removed, and they've got basically bunkers or wherever what do you call it in the World War I, the trenches. They have like trenches there. But yeah, these are neat buildings all over San Francisco that have a lot of occult symbolism, painted gold. They just match an older style than. And yeah, there's definitely a changing point in San Francisco. This is new San Francisco, right? And you'll find there's these domes, geodesic domes that have full biodomes inside of them. 3 separate climates. There's one that's a rainforest, one that's a desert, and one that's a tropical climate. I think there's like a Pacific Northwestern rainforest and a tropical climate. But where they go by land, whither ye go to possess it, it is your land. Manifest Destiny quote. And then the pagodas all around San Francisco. This Assyrian statue of a giant holding a lion was pretty interesting, and it talked about how the Assyrian culture did not dissipate with the lack of a state, but in fact found itself all over the world, influencing all the world's cultures. And so it was dedicated by the people of Assyria to the sovereign state of the United States, which was very strange.
Yeah, that was a very interesting statue itself.
So do these buildings, do they have any build dates listed or information that we can look up?
Most of them have remodels and early models in the early 20th century. So they actually, a lot of these buildings don't go back to the 1890s because San Francisco had this earthquake. Mm-hmm. So what we have instead is a resurrection of old statues and a reuse of recycled brick. There are places, though, where you have to wonder what the deal is, and it's likely that they're buried or reassembled structures. The differences are becoming easier for us to tell when looking at things like how they're rebuilding Notre Dame. You know, Jeff went back to France, and we're seeing the rebuilding efforts happening right before the fire started. And you can get the idea that it's probably unlikely that they're able to, I mean, even looking at the nicest houses that we saw in San Francisco, I'm going to go back to that pirate for a second. The nicest houses in San Francisco that are made of recycled brick look like they're jagged teeth because the recycled brick don't come out very clearly. This double silver, double hooked, double peg-legged pirate, double patched eyes, double parrot, in front of the De Young Museum, representing the spirit of the pirate. It's called Untitled Pirate number 2, I think. But yeah, and then also in front of the bridge, there's all these giant turrets, which Thander and me and probably 3 other Coca-Cola commercial kids could stand right in the middle of this, just the center part here. It's so big, you know, and there's 4 of them.
Small one.
Yeah, and there's at least 4 of them. This I found funny. This is, I think, is this the Disney building, or was this the Young building? No, this is the Scottish Rite building. So underneath the Scottish Rite temple, there's a huge car park basement and another basement below that. And then on the other side of it is 3 stories down. You know, you walk down a hill to a church.
I'm just wondering if some of these were like indestructible buildings, or if they, you know, what we're finding, if they were built so soundly. And I also have some of the docs on like earthquake tech buildings, and I don't know if it's more on how they're structured or if it's more with what they're made with, or whatever elements are used to make them, if they could withstand whatever happened.
Well, so also this is the DeYoung Museum. Notice the upside down twisted pyramid with a tunnel below it. I'm going to try to get back to the map in a second that we saw in the Scotch Rite Temple. But see these here? I think you can tell the difference between things that are new and old.
Yes.
San Francisco's got a lot of things that are clearly old, but then they're historic because of that. There's only a few things that stick out that they feel that they're kind of adjusting the timeline to. They're presented to them 210 years of American people's sovereignty. But when we get to some of these buildings that are older than 100 years old, it becomes possible to interpret them as being older than that. If you look at basically their basements, the size of the stones, the bigger the stones are, the more likely they are to be that much older. Near Sutter Street, near Chinatown, there's kind of like a certain amount of the buildings that can be that old. A lot of them had to be destroyed because they were, there's the plague and the fire. The fire was probably to destroy the plague on purpose. And looking at these bricks, you can see this is from recycled brick. Or it could be in some places less recycled. We've noticed spots that look old enough that they've been patched too. The other thing is from these each bathroom runs this pole that has all of the power to the entire neighborhood. Let's see. Yeah, there's an example of. So this is what San Francisco's World Columbian Exposition looked like in 1892. So in 1892, California had, it had an Eiffel Tower, and it had very tall buildings, at least similar to the height of the, if that's 3 or 4 stories. So, and then that little building, and the taller building there is 6, 7, 8. It could be even taller depending on how small these people actually are.
And do we have population statistics for California at that time? Because that's huge. Why would that be needed? Or if there's nobody there.
So the California, there are people in California at that point, and the California population is disputed because the numbers they always say are augmented by people not actually participating in the census. So you got tons of Italians, tons of Basques who are farmers, and tons of Chinese who are not getting counted properly. So they have to infer that there's probably 4 people for every person that wasn't counted. But in general, I'm gonna look up the number right now. Population 1890, California. Is that what you want?
Sure. I can look up the data. I have a lot of the population data. It's just I was looking into the schools in California when they were built and when they were allegedly moved, and the populations within the communities that would cause a school to move. It didn't make sense. There was 7 students or pupils, and so why would you build a building so incredible when you only had 7 students that lived in the city? So some of that stuff is when you get the I guess evidence showing that happened, you have to question was it there or was it built, because it didn't make sense.
1890, there was 1 million people or less supposedly in San Francisco. Or in California, excuse me.
Okay. Interesting.
Good afternoon, Nathan.
Nathan, did you make it?
Hello.
How's it going?
Hello, Nathan.
I fell asleep again.
Well, you made it.
Yes.
Better than I did last time. I mean, I fell asleep. All these bricks we're finding in the dunes in San Francisco by the beach, all these turrets, all these old bricks, plans for the old exposition of Columbia in 1893, and then how deep the rabbit hole really goes, literally and figuratively, around the bridge, around the beach, around the island. We found so many crazy things made by the UN, and things that don't really make sense that were supposedly made in World War I or World War II. And then you can see the original plans of San Francisco, because we went to the Scottish Rite and they had like pictures set up of what San Francisco looked like. But everywhere you go, you got beehives, you got women with swords with one breast exposed. You've got, in terms of statues, but yeah, even in the streets, because San Francisco gets rough. But there's also the fountains, the turtles. Oh, the white flags too. And you notice that? Have you ever seen a place with white flags before? You know what white flags mean? Interesting.
Surrender.
And yeah, recycled brick. I thought you'd like to see that, Nathan. This is supposedly a building made from bricks from old San Francisco that were recycled, and it could be
Nice.
it could be like a great way for us to study what buildings are old, what buildings are new, what buildings are new but made from old materials, and what they did when they didn't know how to rebuild something, especially in the 1890s to 1910. It looks like there's a major effort to rebuild and blame everything on the fire and the plague, and people weren't going to certain areas because they were just going to die if they did.
Yeah.
So, that's basically for now. I mean, there's a lot more to look through, but that's basically what I wanted to start with, I think.
Very nice.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Very interesting.
Yeah, and I do need to get back to Fort Funston, because I think that's going to be the best point and case of a fortress that was demolished, because throughout the beach you just have those discs and rings and stone pieces. It just looks like a fort that just got demolished, like it exploded everywhere. And it's just the perfect point in case of that. And so definitely need to get back there and record and document more of the surrounding area for sure.
Yeah, that was a really good pickup on your part, and I was very surprised with what we found. I was like, what we're gonna find in the sand, but not quite. But we found more than I expected.
Yeah, it was one of those unintentional things, and I think at the time I was talking with Nathan and Mike when I was out there taking photos, and it was through the conversation with them that idea came to being, because it was just so weird just seeing all this concrete shattered all over, and then these huge massive like slabs, like full pieces, completely away from other portions or structures, nowhere near anything else, but like fully intact. And it was just quite impressive structures in general.
Did you take any sample rock or anything, or?
No, and just with you mentioning that earlier, I'm going to start trying to gather some samples, and then someone who's interested in testing them, I'll send them to them, and maybe that way it's like this independent, nobody knows like where the source came from, and then they do the analysis on that and then display the evidence, and then we can relate it to what that object was.
Mm-hmm.
And I would be completely down for that. And I think that's a really good insight, Brittany, to kind of start really building a little more solid evidence to the contrary narrative that's been presented.
Yeah, cool.
San Mateo, you're looking at Skywalker Ranch. That's where all the Ewoks live.
No, this is the winery you mentioned.
The Mountain Winery. Oh man, I saw Beach Boys and David Byrne at this Star Fort. What a weird coincidence.
It has a lot of the hallmarks of being one. Yeah.
It really is a weird place. The first time I went there, I was like, wait a second. There's a French stone castle up in the hills. It's supposedly an abandoned winery that they like fixed again, right? And then it looks like the place where the Von Trapp family ran away from the Nazis in Sound of Music. It just has there's like tunnels, there's a stadium, coliseum, like place to sit. There's all these grills with trenches so that the cows can't cross these places, but it's just so over the look at that semicircle state. It's very Greek, like a Greco theater, but the building itself is gnarly. Like it's a French castle, You know, that's what it is. It's like Notre Dame, but for wine.
So no, I don't have Skywalker Ranch on the map. Should we have a look at that?
And, you know, it's all wood, but it might be useful. Who knows? We'll have to look into it at some point. But you did have stuff in San Mateo or whatever, which is pretty close. Whoa.
Also across there, if you look at my screen, can't really, it's not a good example, but pretty much across the bay, there's a few forts over there too, on the other side of Golden Gate Bridge, which have a lot of tunnels to kind of find our way through at some point.
Nice.
That person was very awkward.
Oh, the guy wiped right by me when I walked by.
Hey, what is he talking about? Walking in front?
Yeah, exactly. Oh,
He-
yeah, no.
Yeah, you know, you do make it kind of sound weird when they don't know that you're just talking about getting pictures of and uncovering evidence of Star Force. You know?
I didn't see the guy. That's funny.
Yeah,
You're like, I can get him. I can get him. I can get an expert to find out the truth. It's like,
Someone's gonna call you in.
no, it's San Francisco. He's just
I
like, I
thought,
want to
yeah.
get home. I'm so tired of this. Yeah. Or rather, they have to get home to their own uncovering of their own truths.
Sir, did you know the entire Bay Area is filled with these things?
Yeah. That's why there's so much traffic.
I showed these to Ethan earlier, Andreas. Have you seen the pyramids on Angel Island?
The heck is that?
Oh my gosh.
Wow.
Nice. Amazing.
Oh yeah.
Two perfectly fine pyramids in the middle of nowhere on Angel Island in the bay.
Okay, I called dibs on that.
What the heck?
What? When did this come up? We recently were going to look up Angel Island,
What?
right? That came up for some reason.
Well, Angel Island came up because I found a bunch of batteries on there, and then I went on more
Right. Show the batteries. Can you do that?
Hey, sure. That's remains.
Check that out. Look at this.
Wow.
Is very similar to what we saw up at the top of the island that looked over the bridge.
And you got one here.
All right, but hold on this one for a second because you move fast,
Oh yeah, sorry.
like a barista at Starbucks. It's gonna be okay.
Oh, you
This is
talk
pretty
fast. You talk fast. I zoom fast.
Fair enough. Well, I mean, you got like a tunnel you've clearly demonstrated in this one. There's like some underground subterranean layer, which always makes something sound fun.
Looks like what they have at all the parks too. The underground buildings that you can see like just a fraction exposed, and there's a mound, and you wonder, well, what's really going on? At least I do anyway, because I have to drive in those locations.
I mean, you know, they put giant machines in giant mountains. That's not even speculatory. We know that. It's kind of funny, though, if you think about the practicality of it. Because you could drive to the back of your giant, you know, imagine you're a mouse and you have a refrigerator, a giant human refrigerator. You have to, you know, you bury parts of it. You could drive around it all the way to the top, you know, and open parts of it at a time. That's probably what it is that they have to get to the back of this and open it through like a cave tunnel or cavern. Where does it start? Oh yeah, this is great. Now available to throw events.
What?
Yeah, if you want to do your wedding, you know,
That's
it might cost $1 million, but you can still do it at Alcatraz.
That's why I said like repurposed many times.
That's funny. What is the narrative on Alcatraz? The build year and everything? Anyone know off the top of the head?
Not on the top.
I could probably look that up.
Got more batteries.
I can only remember that the bikers took it over for a little while.
Well,
And Ed Harris. Just kidding.
Yeah.
Right.
the paramilitary that are connected to the bands and the Grateful Dead that were the Hells Angels, they took over a military base. The island itself was only a federal prison from 1934 until the early 60s, I guess 1963. And it was occupied by a group of Native Americans for 19 months in 1969. That was the beginning of this wave of turning it into like a park and changing it over because the Native Americans said this is ours and we want it back, and then they were like, no.
It was led by Richard Oakes, who's the one who led that campaign too, who was killed.
Right. And that's another interesting thing is that they had a really legitimate cause in this idea of reclaiming an unused military base. It was just too valuable a piece of property. But at the same time, they didn't ever build anything else on it. Like, oh, well, it's a prison, so, you don't want to do anything with it. And that's just suspicious because everybody, you don't want to do anything with it, but you might want to have weddings there. Like, what?
Weird.
Yes. In case you want to make sure that your loved ones have the perfect experience, remember it for many years, as many as you are married. Alcatraz weddings. Remember it for life. All right. 25 to life.
Kind of ironic, though.
Yeah. No, maybe that would be cool. You're right. Maybe that's why people do it. They're like,
Married in a prison.
You're in for
Might
a
as well
long
wake
haul.
up now.
Here's a spot. Yeah.
Wait, I can't hear you.
Just-
Can you say that again?
Scott, are you able to see my screen?
There you go.
I just found something off in the middle of the forest near Sutro Baths.
Let me see this. Hold on. We're going to your screen.
Zoom out a little bit. Don't get killed. What is that?
I'm gonna go around that. Yeah, I don't know. I saw this out the corner of my eyes. Like, what is that?
It's an abandoned dome. What?
Da, da.
So Alcatraz, I was wikiing it. Thank you, Brittany. Alcatraz is home to the abandoned prison and the site of the oldest operating lighthouse on the west coast of the United States.
Bada bing.
Bada bing.
Those lighthouses.
I'm not marking down lighthouses.
Yeah, you are. You just didn't know you were. That's amazing.
Put it in there. There's a lighthouse.
Good
You
job
gotta start
marking down all
tracking
those
them,
lights.
Do you guys see the antenna on top of this?
Yeah.
Is this an abandoned building or where?
Yeah, it's totally fenced off. It's just off the beaten path of where the tourists walk.
Wait,
It's just off.
you got the fence or what? Oh.
You want me to jump the fence? I'll
No,
do it.
no,
I
no,
don't
no,
care.
no, no.
Oh my gosh, not on recording. I would never
Just
tell
kidding.
you to do that.
No.
The record show.
I was just joking, guys. Don't ever take that seriously.
Okay.
Everybody-
Fine, I'll do it.
Yeah.
So you're in the middle of the woods and there's just a random building.
That's how it goes in San Francisco and in France, I've noticed. It's like the same thing. There must have been guillotines in both countries.
Whoa.
Where is this thing even?
This is above. Here, one sec. Jumping inside.
Yes, get a virtual on that, Mike.
You look really close to this building. So you're inside the fence or are you on the outsides?
That's top secret information.
Okay, sorry.
Just
But you
like
can tell by the tattoos and graffiti.
Yeah, you're close. Someone's artwork is getting some screen time here. That's cool.
That's a terrible Dilbert.
It looks like they stripped all character from it.
Aw. Why is it that everybody loves iconoclasm so much?
What batteries on Google Earth?
Whoa. There we go. A little bit.
Watch out for squatters.
Yeah, that's what. You guys see me getting a battle live on TV.
My money is on the squatter. No, I'm kidding.
Oh yeah.
That'd be
No, actually, I know Ethan could probably take about 4 squatters at the same time. I've come to decide.
He'll take on all squatters.
My money's on 4 squatters versus Ethan. No, I'm kidding.
and your money's done.
How many
I think we-
squatters
I
are gonna
think-
take him down?
We should change the chats to this. Just send one of us out into the middle of nowhere with a camera, and then if something crazy happens, you got to document it. So I'll go out in my neck of the woods next week, maybe. See, that's crazy.
I'm surprised that the signal is kind of muted somehow. It seems like it's pixelated. Considering
Hey, you need to get a GoPro.
Google and YouTube. Yeah. That seems really exciting. Brittany and I have been talking about different kinds of equipment and ideas to make the show better. Brittany's basically producing. We got like a whole new plan. You guys will be really excited what's coming. Stay tuned.
Okay.
We'll stay tuned.
Yes.
Just stay tuned.
Sounds great.
Eventually.
There's the guys that were gonna come get me.
Batteries, right? Yeah.
Don't worry, they got your face.
Probably.
So
Here's
Alcatraz-
this is the location
Oh.
that I'm at.
Alcatraz is archaic for pelican and comes from Arabic Alcatraz.
What does that say? The naval what? Whoa. The naval battle of.
Guadalcanal.
Guadalcanal.
There we go. Now I want to get into my files now.
I'll just go over this a little slow, and then that way people can
Guadalcanal.
if they want to read it.
Canal. That's where you were just back in the woods looking at things back there, like near this area, or is this a different site now?
This is all the same area.
Ethan, you could also take a photo with your phone to save for later. It's in high res of that because it's kind of low pixels.
For sure, we'll do.
Nice. Ethan and
And the
Bert,
birth
ladies
of
and
the-
gentlemen.
The birth of the Tatarian street team.
Round of applause for the bird, everybody.
The reason Tartarian.
Here's all their honored dead at this point. The Marine detachment.
Nope, we lost Ethan.
Oh no.
No.
He'll be back. He'll be
Proof
No,
back.
of
please.
life.
Okay. This is not good.
He'll be back. He's uncovering just enough, but not too much. So I'll let him back
Exactly. What is Mike? What are you looking at here?
on. Ethan gave me a really incredible book that I have to share also. It's all about the economy of agriculture. And there's Ethan.
He's back. Good. Oh, okay.
Oh, good.
What's up, bro?
So man, sorry.
That's
Where
cool.
did you find those
You appeared in
sunglasses?
a ray of light. It's great.
Yeah.
I don't know if I want to tell you where I got these sunglasses from because I actually taped over where what the brand is right there. You can't really see it.
Do you steal them from Harry Potter?
Mm, they're Facebook glasses that have been taped over.
Whoa, brutal. All right, I get it.
Yeah, that's what I said. I didn't want to say
That's
that.
cool meta right there. You taped over the camera built into your sunglasses from Facebook too.
Oh my gosh.
Okay, I guess that's the building you were at, Ethan, earlier.
Oh,
Oh,
you found it. This is so cool. Oh my gosh.
Wait. So Mike, you got this is the building you was just at? What? Okay,
Love it.
go deeper in again. Can you deep search that? Is that as deep as you go?
You know,
Man, you get really close these
as deep
days.
as I
Google.
go.
Crazy.
Whoa. We could have.
All right.
Oh, it's not live. I was gonna say we could have seen him hop in the fence.
So
There he is. Just kidding.
Yeah, you can do whatever you like. Andreas will stick a duck on your face if you do.
Yeah.
this might be the deal, though. You might have found. What do you think this is? This looks kind of like a lighthouse.
It's an octagon.
How tall is it?
It's
The oldest lighthouse?
That's the battery. That's the batteries again.
It could be a water tower. I mean, I don't know. You were close to it. What did you think it was, Ethan?
It looked like the top of a tower. So it looks like it goes way deeper. Because here, if you look at my screen right now, pretty much it was in. You can barely see it, but right at the top there is the pole standing out. But it was right in those trees.
Oh, cool.
So yeah, I wonder about this where we find mounds where it looks like an object has just been buried. It's like maybe someone anticipated this and buried structures before an event because they didn't know how else to handle it. I don't know. That's a stretch, but.
Well, I mean, that it does look a little bit like a man-made mountain. It doesn't look. It looks like there's been overgrowth now over many, many years. But at one point, it definitely looks like it was moved around by us.
Yeah, whether or not it was excavated or it was, built up, that was I wonder. But definitely humans have been. Definitely somebody knows about this, right? That's the thing. For a museum piece to be just hidden.
Whoa. Can I ask Mike, is this your screen we're looking at here? I see a Starfort Woods Hole repurposed. Can I ask what that is?
If it's repurposed, they made something new of it. Like Alcatraz is repurposed. It was a Starfort, then it was a jail, and now you can marry there. So it's repurposed.
Can you click on the Woods Hole one for me just for a second?
Sorry?
You have one over that looks like it says Woods Hole. That's like my. I'm trying to click on it, but it's not my screen. So on the left side, like what file? Where are you in? You're in your own personal files.
Yeah, this is my Google Earth. Well, which one did you want to see?
I'm just looking at your screen share, and on the left side it says Star Fortress Woods Hole repurposed.
What's
Woods Hole. It's on the left. You see on like your actual list, your text list on the left side.
Oh, Woods Hole.
Right? Yeah.
Oh, you asked about that, and I looked at it. Yeah.
I just wanted to see if you had anything.
I've marked it down as a possible location. It's
okay.
A bad start.
Okay.
These walls were interesting. Like
okay.
The shapes of the harbor.
Cool.
I guess what I think is you should put an asterisk or something next to things you think are lighthouses without necessarily.
No, I have a mark for lighthouses I encountered.
Oh, you are marking them?
Yeah, just mark them if you pass by them. You don't have to put too much extra energy into them, but you're starting to see them everywhere. So what are you going to do? Ignore them? Fuck that. I mean, whoops.
Oh my gosh. Look at this. This is insane. I love
That's a lighthouse. In the Netherlands. Yes, I meant the Netherlands. Well, I give him this little round Fresnel lens type symbol.
Wow.
That's how stuff is going to look all over the world. Fancy colored stars. Amsterdam.
Wow.
This was actually Amsterdam. You can see the outlines here.
Wow. That's so cool.
I went all the way up there. Here.
Do you have the old maps, the old map of Amsterdam too then? In your files, I'm guessing? An older star map?
That is among the overlays that I have.
Okay. Cool. That's awesome.
Amsterdam.
That is so cool. You do that.
Yeah, that's cool.
That's like the blueprint then. So where did you get that? The overlay maps?
Victor.
Oh,
Victor
Victor.
is the source for our old maps. It's absolutely brilliant.
That's awesome. And
I
you
got.
just,
Wait a minute. Let me check.
I wonder, look at that. Look at the, oh my gosh, that's so cool.
753 old maps now.
Oh, to match up with the,
Yeah, to match up with the
oh
fort.
my goodness.
And this is my, like Nathan said, this is my magnum opus. I'll be a lifetime before this is done.
Well, it'll definitely be shared with others. That'll be one of like the main, like a class that you'd have probably for kids to learn about this. This is incredible.
That's Antwerp.
Can you imagine that in a history book?
It'd just be wonderful,
And
though.
so,
I love looking at
in the
those
year
maps.
2019, a man named the 13th Monkey, also known as the Ultra Duck, rediscovered the Star Fortresses.
And track them for everybody.
A lot of
I
truth to
provided
that,
like
too.
the blueprints. That's, I mean, this is, it's like art
The
though, and
Ultra
it's
Duck, the great compiler.
so cool.
Ethan has a crack in his windshield.
Oh, really?
Looks like it.
That's Paris.
Yeah, that happened other week. Somebody was trying to shoot at me. No, just kidding.
You gotta quit hopping fences, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, you never know. Us here in the hood in California, riding through the streets. Just kidding.
Oh, speaking of rotating forts, Nathan,
Ooh.
I'm ready.
I went over India yesterday, started there a bit. Look
Mhm.
at what I found here in
Oh my
India.
goodness. Holy.
Wow.
Oh.
And that's not the only one. I got one more.
Oh my gosh.
I have photos of that one. Oh, yeah.
Wow.
This one looks futuristic.
Yeah, another one here.
I think the first one was still on Ethan's screen because it was selected. You might need to show the first one again. I saw the second and third.
This is the first one, Andreas.
Yeah? Okay. Was it say Yamnagar?
Yamnagar.
Where is this at again? Yeah, but where nearby?
Oh, Diu? Near,
Okay.
Nearer to Pakistan than it is to, like, Delhi.
Got it.
So that first fortress is in the land of the Tamil kings, which I've been meaning to look back into. I got so
Very
caught up
interesting.
in Sri Lanka, I haven't been back to India.
That first ring was so metal, and we just were looking at the pillar of Delhi, I think, right? Several different Indian structures and composites of nanometals, nanomaterials, which, you know, in modern times, like in my nanotech classes, we would study them, and they would see with modern machines that they were nanotechnologies. They had the qualities of nanoscopic, below 10,000 angstrom size bonds. But looking at how they did it, also, interestingly enough, they made it either by accident or because alchemy really works, because they were doing it by using all the alchemical practices of those rings. This is cool. This is in India too?
Yeah.
Man. Is that water on that path that you... That's water there, yeah?
Yeah, this is the sea. This is a river.
Theoretically, that's a mud flood.
That's a mud flood.
But you know, a lot of the time, you found like right there, is that clean looking water or is that dry land? That blue line, the green, like the zigzag wall, that area. Is that water?
That's clean water.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting how that's working.
And this seems to have dried up here.
Hmm.
So do you think the water flows from that path down, or is that?
I don't know. I think the water was around the entire citadel. Like, usually. That's the case.
Wow.
You can see the walls.
Wow. That one. Look at
This
that.
one?
Yeah, look at that. In
Yeah.
between the kind of obelisk shape, you've got this.
Look, nice little rotating
I'm
thingy.
starting to wonder about these giant fountains
Oh,
that
yeah.
could be used for rotating things, like the magnetic spinning compass
Did
for
you
understanding ley lines.
did you see the Mercury video, like Global Vision?
No.
You need to.
All right. Is that what you were talking about earlier? That's the Mercury video?
That was what I was talking about earlier.
All right.
Do you remember, like a couple of months ago, when we just started finding these forts on the Discord and stuff, and we were talking about the
How could I forget, babe?
Velikaya Savalstaya, which is the Great Wall in the Ukraine? I mentioned that I had the thought these canals were filled with mercury.
Ooh.
These canals connect.
Right.
forts.
Right. You were saying you had like visions of this flowing with mercury, right?
Yes, sir.
Wow. Wow.
Oh.
And you were like, I don't know how to explain it, so I'm gonna just be quiet. I'm like, no. And you're like, yeah, I am. And here you are now.
Well,
So I told you you were right.
but the thing is, I don't have anything backing me other than that. Like, here, I have a hunch.
I'll
Oh
try and find some
no!
confirmation on that in my
I
files.
have that. I have it.
Phil
Oh, you do?
had the same thing last time.
Yay.
Well, I don't want to ruin it because it's going to take about a half an hour to explain. We
No,
have to go through the why. But I think there was enough mercury to get the trick done.
Cool.
Yeah, that's my guess.
I mean, considering how much mercury there is in the ocean now, and it's like 78% of our world, supposedly, it seems pretty reasonable to think that there's enough mercury out there to do this.
Mm-hmm.
There's only a couple alchemical issues when dealing with that much mercury, but I'm almost ready. And Mike's idea supports my magnetic river.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it all seems like we're coming back down to this. I remember this video game I had. Where in the world is Carmen Sandiego? Back on, when I was a kid.
Oh, we
on
talked
my
about
computer.
that. That's on
Yeah.
PC.
Yeah,
Talk about
yeah.
I had
nostalgia.
that on PC. Oh, it's awesome.
Yeah, it was amazing, and it had parts where mine was probably a newer edition. I think it was like 1996 or something. Gosh, by that point the game had probably had 6 versions, but it had you go to ancient China, and it was like time traveling Carmen Sandiego, and
Yeah.
we got to see how compasses were made by hand on these boats around the world, and so the use of liquid metals for compasses it sticks out because we're talking about harmonization with electromagnetism instead of just spinning. There's circumstances where we're talking about how many times a second, how many revolutions per minute, but there's other times where we're saying, like, is it pointing the right direction and is it connecting to a ley line path? And I think that's interesting too.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot on the.
This one probably had a little too much revolutions per minute.
Holy.
Oh,
Yeah, I mean,
wow.
have you ever done that? Have you ever taken a fan and put too much energy through it and destroyed it? I have. You can take like one of those like little battery powered ones, and you shouldn't because you'll melt the wires. But you can attach the wires to an electrical outlet and plug it into like a 19-volt direct current, and then it'll spin so fast that it'll literally destroy itself. It'll melt, it'll spin, and then it'll, if the wires are thick enough. Usually they make sure the wires are too small for the motor to get that big. It's kind of like a safety feature, really.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, this makes sense. Good observation. Look at all those boats going around it too. What the heck? How long is this?
Let's see.
I mean, this is in Cherbourg in France, right?
Cherbourg, France. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's got to be at least like 30 or like 60 kilometers or something. Oh, look, you got map measuring software to do it right.
9 kilometers.
9 kilometers. Oh, okay, this is closer to shore. Still, that's pretty crazy. The entire wall turned into a beach cruise spot.
Yeah.
You know how you do that?
Yeah, like
all you have to do in a setting like that is collapse a part of the continental shelf. You could just hammer in charges on the seafloor where it's a bit higher. Sink a bit of that shelf and you'll sink the whole seaside.
Nathan, your enthusiasm confuses me.
I'm saying that. Sorry. I'm saying that if you want to build the perfect seaport, you just go to flat level somewhere, and you cause flooding. You build your seaport on land, then you flood that mother.
No, so like Rotterdam.
Here we are in the old. I'll say.
Did you mean the Netherlands?
Yes, the Netherlands. Yep.
But yeah, it's man-made flooding is something we talk about like it's a nefarious plan now. Imagine if it was
beavers,
a logistical part of a structure's architecture.
So that's something we could probably bring up in a second. Hold on. Beavers. I don't know how much I probably already talked about beavers because like I have a strange obsession with small animals. But beavers are cool because I'm gonna really quickly do a picture of it. These guys, you can put them in a zone where there's nothing but desert, and they will build small amounts of water, which will then trees will come, because of seeds from birds, from these spots. They'll cut down the trees because they need their teeth to stop growing. They start living in the water. They create these weird homes underneath the water, and eventually, what you have are streams that they create. And they create these huge streams that go into other streams, and they create these aquifers. So they're also really cool for jackets, apparently. In the 19th century, it was really fly to have a hat made out of a beaver. So they brought them down. First they brought them to France, and then they were going extinct in Canada, and they brought them to Argentina. Now they're everywhere in Argentina, and they're like they consider them a pest because they're not native, and they destroy huge areas of Patagonia, which then flood out giant regions because there's so much water down there. They don't need to divert water paths down there. But if you take a beaver, and you take a bunch of beavers rather, and you put them into the right zones, and then you make water breakage, and you have sounds to direct them, you can use beavers to completely restore desert areas. I'm pretty sure we're looking at Red Dead Redemption right now, but still, that makes sense.
That's funny. Beavers are a pest up here in Washington too.
They're not a pest. They're my spirit animal, bro.
That's the way we treat them.
Yeah.
Now beavers will turn everything into a swamp. They'll create a marsh out of your backyard.
Well, but a swamp is a strong word. They create a pond, and then other things influence that area too, right? So things come to drink at that. Then you have plants that grow there that can clean the water, and then they eat those plants, and then they have a huge family. I mean, you saw Angry Beavers.
You're referring to them doing it in rather dry and arid locations, but if they do that in the backwoods here in Washington, they will flood people's backyards. They'll
Right.
divert water. And
we do not live in
it's a big problem here.
We don't live in a world ready for beavers because we need to change everything to allow them to. But the thing is, if we allowed
Y'all ain't ready
beavers,
for no beavers.
it's true. And it's funny. Everyone's talking about how they want to save the world by changing the world. It's like we need to stop changing the world and start interpreting the world. And if we could just allow ourselves to live in a world that the beavers changed for like 20 years, the world would look pretty interesting pretty fast. It would be greener for sure.
And then we'd create our own subset of beaver, the desert
sounds
beaver.
like a good idea.
I think we saw that South Park.
What, really?
Otters! Otters!
Otters! Otters!
Guys, I'm pretty
like
sure that
otters.
stacking is not that key.
I like otters.
I like otters because otters are dicks.
Dang.
Wow.
Did I show
All
you
otters,
one
ladies
last
and
week,
gentlemen.
Nathan?
Otters are mischievous, and if you don't understand their mischief, it comes off as malicious. They're playful. I like them.
Oh, what?
I like to watch California condors swoop down and eat otters.
Oh my goodness.
You unfriend-
Brutal.
I've seen that
wonder if
happen
the
at
condor-
least 3 times.
Whoa. I wonder
It's
if the
like-
condor thinks the otter is a hairfish.
No, condors, no. I think that's another bumper sticker we need. California condors just know the difference. But the thing is, an otter will eat its body weight, right? You know, a lot of the time, or is that sea otters will eat its body weight a lot of the time in clams, and while they're floating, they're tasty. So they're filled. It's like they're filled with like recently livered clams. So the bird likes it.
This one is being rebuilt.
I think we need to tint the saturation on your screen to look more like Mario Brothers, Mike.
Oh, sure.
For a while there, Ethan's screen looked like one of your intros.
Ethan's got a lot of cool places that he's been going around, you know, and he's just like, I haven't been here in a while since my Tartarian upgrade. I was like, oh, that's so good. That's how I feel.
Well, it's interesting. Like once you get upgraded with a certain level of information, where we were alluding to this earlier, it's like the layers upon that of previous knowledge that upgrade with that, and it like opens up all these different perspectives, and it's like this constant expanding of information. It's so beautiful. It's interesting, but it's like, as Andreas alluded to, it's that once you have your Tartarian upgrade, you can't really look back.
Now I feel bad for Mike because Mike has to look at lighthouses whether he means to or not. He's like, I don't know, they're everywhere. Ugh. I feel you, man.
I'm heading right towards another star fort right now in the process of the conversation too. So I'm heading to the one that's right below the Golden Gate Bridge.
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
So that'll
Also-
be there shortly.
Also, the last video where you guys mentioned star forts that had lighthouses involved, I put up a little clip from this archive.org Dutch, lighthouse footage from the 50s. And then the Dutch government tried to claim it. They're like, you can't show people footage about our lighthouses. So I got to admit, man, that's pretty suspicious. I don't know. Like, what's up with that? Why do they not want you to understand the technology of lighthouses?
They need the exposure. I mean, nobody's going to pay for that image. They should have given it to you.
Yeah,
The
no, but
lighthouse.
in general, I'm going to go to the Santa Cruz lighthouse. But here's the other thing. There's a lighthouse like this. Come on, look how good you are at this, Mike. Come on, come on,
Mike, you're not just carports, you're lighthouses, you're everything.
Mike, you're everything, Mike.
You are.
Yeah, well, you know what? Help me, and I'll join you. That's
I may be new here, Mike, but
otherwise, it's
have you
suspicious.
seen this lighthouse?
The Dutch government and Mike both don't want us to know about lighthouses. That's the but it's true. There's something weird going on about all of these structures because there's one in Santa Cruz. I drove by it with Jeff on the way up to San Francisco to see Thander, and I was like, man, I haven't been there in years. Well, how long has it been since I've been there? Oh, apparently December 2001. That was the last time I was there. And I know this because, you know, I could take 5 minutes and think about what was going on in my life and prove it to myself. But also, the lighthouse apparently hasn't had anybody in it since December 2001. Because isn't that funny how that happens to me? I'll be like the last one out before a volcano erupts too many times. But this lighthouse apparently collapsed. The top floor collapsed. And because they can't get someone to fix this, this happened 17 years ago, I guess, right? Is that 2001? I don't want to count it.
Showing this on your screen? No.
What? No, you want me to
lighthouse?
show it? Oh, I can find it. Hold on. What's that called?
Maybe Mike Casper, Mike. I'm just kidding.
Lighthouse Santa Cruz Wiki.
Or a bit of a bibliography. Jeff Vandermeer features a lighthouse
Oh, yes,
in
a lot,
its super trippy book
underwater
Annihilate.
structure.
What was that, Lean?
There's a lot of undersea or underwater structure near this place. You just pass by.
That Mike passed by?
Like
Yeah.
in the Netherlands.
Yeah, in Netherlands. Yes.
Oh yeah,
Oh,
the Netherlands, and yes, I mean the Netherlands, is all reclaimed land. Because this stuff right here, when I go around with my mouse pointer now,
Mhm.
that whole area is from 1963.
Oh,
This whole
1960.
area was finished in, funny enough, in 1942, in the middle of World War II.
Hmm.
And the province I live in, this one, is about 50% reclaimed land. This was all lakes. This
Oh.
was an island,
Mhm.
and this was all water.
Wow.
Yeah, you can see a different color under the water.
This was all water.
Yes,
Water, water, water.
you can see. You can see that it's like a striped black line under the water. Yeah, this place. Yeah, so a lot of straight line.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
This,
here's.
Wow.
Oh, by the way, Thander's at the bridge, so pretty sweet.
I was gonna start driving towards it right now, so if you guys want to watch it, I'll show you as I'm moving towards the Star Fort.
This is like, come on, guys. We have virtual reality tours. We have augmented virtual reality tours. We have tours of reality. That's pretty sweet.
This is a multifaceted show. Oh, I tell you.
It looks like it's closed today because usually you can go in there. It's free.
On a Wednesday.
All right, if they ever make it so you can take over another person's body to like drive around another city, they need to have a button that you can push for whistling.
They fixed the Golden Gate Bridge. That's nice.
They paint it gray and then they paint it orange.
I don't think you completely get what I mean here, but I'll share in a second.
Really? Are they turning people away? What? Wow.
Tell them you have the rights to film there. You're working for
You're a
Andreas.
Tartarian. Tell them that you're a Tartarian and you know your rights.
Tartarian press pass.
Yeah.
Oh wait, did somebody say I couldn't film here? I wasn't paying attention.
No, you can. Yeah. I said so.
Yeah.
Here, I'll pull out a second, take a look at what I can. But yeah, it looks like it's closed for the day.
Well, if there's any signs that tell you what you can do and can't, don't read them.
Oh, I don't even know what you're talking about. What sign
Yeah.
are you talking about?
Yes.
God forbid.
Yeah, just say no habla.
actually did, so-
And as a Californian Tartarian, you have the right to everything being written in your own Tartarian language or an interpreter.
There you go.
Just walk up to these people and go, "Ohio gozaimasu."
That won't work in San Francisco, Mike.
So this fort right here is. Can you guys see it?
Yeah, you gotta hold
Yeah,
on
yeah.
for a second because the pixelization, but
Get an aerial view. Let's make a good on that. Is Mike already on that? Oh my gosh. You're so
Mike,
good.
hold on, I'm gonna cut to Mike for a second.
Oh, that's awesome.
Here's the structure. It's a tune and fork underneath the bridge, just the right spot, like a guitar.
Oh my gosh. Sweet.
I like your basement windows you found there. Nice basements. Oh, is it a ladder too? Or what is that?
Right at the corner.
Yeah.
This seems to be the
Oh, the stone cornerstones. Yeah.
cornerstone.
Oh wow.
Climbable.
Climbable it goes. Nice.
Sorry, that's my first intuition. See if you can climb the bricks.
Assassin's Creed.
Yeah.
I'll climb a portion if I wasn't carrying stuff, but I'm not going to climb all the way.
Don't worry, man. I will at least get you like a Tartarian Spider-Man suit for that. Look at this though. If you got this steel furnace-like windows, I guess that makes sense because it's so close to the salt water and pressure.
It could also, because they have a lot of cannons in here. Like they even show them, and so this is probably one of the like almost defensive points. But it's interesting that it's faced inwards too. Towards the,
Yeah. What are they keeping inside the crypt? Yeah.
The ones
No
facing
trespassing.
inward are to
What?
fend off the
Careful.
tour buses.
There you go.
No,
I can't. It's a good thing I can't read, fellas.
Don't read that.
Put that out later.
We'll have to send that to one of our experts in like
There-
Latin Helvetica
That
script.
says enter here.
Check this out. Drones are prohibited. That's why we only use free Tartarian citizens with their own. You can do whatever you want, Ethan.
That says nothing about dirigibles.
It just actually, if your drone is intelligent, wouldn't it be legal? I would think.
That's not a drone. I put a rat in there.
Good
Yeah,
question.
like, it's got like brain cells.
Oh my god.
Bernie Sanders
but-
would give it the vote. I mean, come
I
on,
just
it's
fly
not-
my squirrel around. It's like the dogs that surf.
Oh, we can also we can hire some mouse or small animals like a seagull and
Mouse
put them.
You know, it seems like getting animals involved. Carrier pigeons, perhaps. That's a thing.
No, and then have them mount with a small camera.
Right?
Then
I didn't trespass. It was that mouse. Like, why are you blaming me? Look at the mouse.
I actually-
it's just so
I had-
malicious over there, plotting and scheming.
I've seen like the birds where like they have hawks and things where they attach a GoPro to it. Like, and there's room for this thought process.
Cats. They
So-
used to
so
do
what
that
I-
in the psych experiments too.
What I mean,
Oh goodness, a cat dirigible?
Like a blowfish cat.
Just a super, super fat cat to test your dirigible. Those will be the new cat photos.
okay, this could be cats on synthesizers in space. Yeah.
No
Yeah.
cats have been harmed in the making of Tartaria's recent Tartaria's tartar source.
We'll
by the way.
call it the Fat Cat Bombardier.
Oh my, Mike, what do you happens when you click on buttons? Are you able to like get like a street view?
I could get a street view, yeah.
What does a street
We
view
already
look
have
like
a
when you
street
click on?
view.
I'm
Yeah,
just
we have
curious.
the-
I'm just curious if it's changed or augmented. I just like I've noticed that Google does that a lot.
Or Ethan. Well, actually, look at how that's so similar. Oh my gosh, what is going on?
Underneath here, you can see the lines a little bit cleaner of where the it's been cleaned up.
Wait, this is
There
so
you go.
cool. Zigzags. You guys are sinking.
Synchronistic.
Mikey. Wow, and look at that. Are you guys
Wow.
clicking back and forth like I am right now? That's so cool.
No, I'm just sharing Ethan's screen.
Oh, are you? No, you're not. No, you're not. This is crazy. What's happening? I'm just kidding. This is awesome.
I'd love to get in there. One of these days, I'll get back in there and get some more photos. Maybe not this weekend, but maybe the following.
Okay, why I mentioned the fixing of the Golden Gate Bridge. This is Golden Gate Bridge and all, and San Francisco was covered in a cloud for a couple of months, and that was mainly because of this.
Yeah.
Wow.
Have a look at what Google did to the Golden Gate Bridge. Who's going home today? No one. Absolutely no one. Look at this shit. What did they do to the Golden Gate Bridge? Oh,
They made a solution for the Waze app and all the iPhones with the Maps app. And they were like, "Uh-oh, did you screw up? Here you go.
What?
You can like take a
Make
right."
that bridge cover another 60 feet.
Yeah. Yeah, you can go down here. It looks like. Oh, that's pretty creepy. So, okay, I was going to show you guys some Pigeon Point stuff because there's a bunch of lighthouses in Santa Cruz.
Ethan, honk at those people.
Nah, it's okay. They're tourists. They don't know.
Oh,
They're
all right.
tourists. Okay, so here's the Fresno. Tarturians always. They don't know how to drive. All right, they know how to fly and how to boat, but we're not convinced in cars.
Locals only.
Here's the Fresno lens that is in Pigeon Point, or was, and you can't go beyond this because it's been shut down in 2001. I think wait, did I put that wrong? Lighthouse Friends is the wrong button. Loading. This is one of them, the smaller ones over in the harbor, and then there's another one. Why is it so hard to get? Oh, the Lighthouse and Friends is gone today. Really? Yesterday or the day before, this site was up. Now I can't find it. Lighthouse Friends is gone. Interesting. Maybe it's gonna load slowly. Pigeon Point Lighthouse. Let's get some more.
There was a new building, and I can't remember where it was, but the entire top of it was domed glass, and there's a huge frontal lens, and it was gold.
Yeah, there's metals in these like precious metals, and
they'll put a monofilament of gold in there, but
people,
damn.
the official story of the lighthouse is that it's like the first social service, right? There's Roman roads, and if you read George Bernard Shaw's Intelligent Woman's Guide to Socialism, and who hasn't, right? There's like a bunch about why they needed to have, for capitalism, for trade, lighthouses to make sure people didn't hit the points of the rocks. More that we look at them, though, we hear stories of people being blinded. We hear about St. Elmo's fire, where people are shot with lightning, along the coasts of places. And we see that when we start to hear these stories, their websites go down, and we can't even get inside. Isn't that tragic? Because they can't build a deck is the problem. The deck, I guess, broke, and so they can't build the decks. You can't go in the lighthouse. But right next to the lighthouse,
technology's gone.
Deck technology's gone, guys. Can't build decks.
Antiquidex.
I do it in a heartbeat, but we've lost that technology.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty much why Notre Dame, I think, is the lack of abilities to build a decent deck and not leave a light. I mean, it sounds like, right? That's what the story is now that I've been hearing, is that the light, and this is what I predicted, that a light would be the excuse. It fell on the deck of wood that they were working on and caught fire to some canvas, which then lit the boards. I mean, considering that there's so much metal involved with those decks, why they use wood at all in the assembly of those things, but I digress. I'm gonna look at the Fresnel lens, if I could type in Fresnel lens. Look at this. Each piece of glass is made from a crystal sphere that's been cut into flat pieces, and then they've been overlaid on top of each other to
The
produce.
videos are wild.
Yeah, but we're not allowed to show them. Oh my gosh.
No, just imagine an artist
light
making it. Yeah. There.
Yeah.
That's good.
I mean, and you think about diamond cutters, you think about Fabergé, you think about the technology, and this is like actually arguably, I don't know if it's easier or harder because it's bigger, so you'd think it'd be easier because you'd be able to make more effort into getting exact right pieces, but it's harder because you have to get such perfect big spheres of glass that have to be cut. It takes longer to cut them. You have to cut them perfectly, so it's like slicing ice with wire.
Another one, on top of the Fresnel lens, we have parabolic mirrors. So we have parabolic glass, which light gets through. But the start, and any Navyman will know this, the start of Morse code between ships was a light and a parabolic mirror, like a donut mirror with a hole through it. And you just pull on the crank on the side, and it pulls the mirror back behind the light. And that's what those were.
And looking into Hollywood, I mean, for the love of Hollywood, like all of this stuff became the science in Hollywood is really, we've forgotten. I like to use this more and more, and I'm sorry because I used to just use one word, but now I'm using whole lexicon. We've forgotten more than they've ever known, or they've forgotten more than we'll ever learn, and either one is true, because they in the early 20s and 30s, they understood light without being able to see the dailies because they were able to measure the actual exposure, and they knew exactly how many stops, and they knew how many candles of light, each light they were putting on people. So they'd always pop the starlet by giving her 2 or 3 extra candles worth of light, while everyone else had maybe 150. They would have 300 or 250. It was slightly augmented to make them look more beautiful. And this technology, you can study it, and I've done my best. But yeah, even what we know today from all the best perfume ads in Italy, it's not the same as what we had at the beginning of the 30s, when they could make a movie in a completely dark studio just with synthetic light and imitate the sun in terms of 56 degrees Kelvin. Oh, did you go on the bridge already, Ethan? I think I might have missed it. Did I do that?
I just crossed over, but I'll let you guys know when I'm coming back over it. I was just getting to the other side of the Golden Gate Bridge.
Okay, sorry about that.
Oh, no worries.
Looking at lighthouses.
What you were saying was relating to what I'm hunting for. I'm trying to see if there's something related to the lighthouses out here. The problem is connection gets a little weak, so sometimes it's not always the best.
When I got down to LA, first thing I noticed, and I was like, I love this, is the giant spotlights into the sky that they do to get you to come to Hollywood Boulevard or to their events at the Avalon, in general. And there's just, you can see them from miles away, and it's the bug light. It's this huge bug light that goes in, and it's the bat symbol kind of light without the symbol. And you can imagine like using it to spot planes flying overhead and stuff. But those are some of the oldest lights. At the beginning of actually all through American Graffiti, George Lucas's movie of before Star Wars and THX, it's all, or actually I think it's after THX. It's all about the lives of kids living in America in like 50s America with chrome bumpers and chrome cars, and they have Fresnel lens spotlights at all the corners of all the streets, you know, that they're driving around. Huge 1,000 or 1,600 watt lamps, the size of cars like Volkswagens.
Hmm.
You don't wonder how much energy it takes to run these giant bulbs, and then they don't break either because they're designed to last a lot longer.
Well, that's the beauty of the Fresnel lens. You can have one light, and each refraction is one light. So 10 ridges in a Fresnel lens, you're multiplying that light 10 times.
Wait a minute.
So what do you got here, Thunder? Whoa, it looks like a bunch of people are hanging out, doing stuff. This is the most real life experience. This is weird. Look at all these people.
Yeah.
All these people are looking at you right now, world. Imagine that.
And that's when his screen froze.
They're looking at Ethan, I was going to say. They don't know they're looking at us. Maybe. Is he still there? Uh-oh.
Oh.
Oh, there he is.
We lost Nathan.
We have Ethan, but we lost Nathan. Mm.
In general, though, our technology is becoming more singularized. We're finally being able to get this stuff done. It's really nice that we're having these consistent Tartar Source episodes, that everybody's doing these different parts that we're bringing together, that we're actually like making time that we can all exchange this information consistently.
And then it repurposes our research for the next week, too, to try and tie down more loose ends. And it's really helpful, actually.
Yeah,
Awesome.
that was the whole idea behind it.
Oh, crap.
Just to give an idea of the size, right?
Right.
Look at the cars next to the Citadel of Cartagena.
And the
Oh,
trucks,
wow.
right?
These are buses and cars. And that's the Citadel point. And
It's
Oh my
huge.
that's the entire Citadel. Like from here to here, here to here.
God.
And back to the car.
Jeez.
It's funny how much they look like the Star Wars Empire ship, you know, like the Imperial cruiser, I think it is. It has that Starfort like point to it.
Warhammer 40k, as Nathan would have confirmed, has a Starfort shaped ship in it. So I'm not at all surprised that science fiction gets inspired by there's really nothing to see there.
Well, did you see that Lithuanian nuclear base I found the other day? You can put on Discord. It's
Did I?
look up Lithuania. Where is this at?
I need
Hold
a
on.
name because if I do Lithuanian, like, I could just try it.
Lithuania nuclear base.
Plans.
I'm looking for the name.
Ignalina. Ignalina. Is that it?
Is this the only nuclear base, or hold on? Let me type this in again. Lithuanian Soviet nuclear base. It's pretty cool. Let me see if I can get Plokstin. Plokstin. Plokstein.
All right. Blockstein?
Yeah.
PLOK?
Yeah. Plokstine. Plokstein.
Yeah, it doesn't respond.
Okay, hold on. Let's see if I can find you.
Blockstein.
It's built near Plokiškai village, Plok Sciai, north 13 kilometers north of Plunge, Plunge. Do you see? Yeah, you found it. Misklai, Plokstein, Disklo, near the forest. That area there. It looks like a UFO landed there. There's like a giant. It looks like a saucer, and then around it has a bunch of stuff built up that they built around it, connecting it.
I don't know where I'm looking anymore. God damn it.
Type in Plunge.
Lunch.
Okay, and then look 13 kilometers north of that.
That's about here-ish, I reckon.
Yeah, that right there is the first Soviet nuclear base.
I keep doing that. Stop it.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Damn it. No.
Stop saying Soviet. Okay. I will. But yeah, this is the first Soviet nuclear base, and it was built to house the R-12 Dvina, which was a theater ballistic missile to be deployed during the Cold War in 1962. The cause of the Cuban Missile Crisis. It was supposed to be built here, and they've got. Let me see if I can find a look scheme. They don't want you to find it, so it's not your fault, by the way. Here we go. My screen for a second. Here is a picture of it. It's gosh, it takes forever to load. But here you've got this metal shell and doors that you climb down into to enter it. The thing itself is overlaid with concrete. And underneath that is a giant metal bell dome like saucer shape. So it really does look, I mean, it looks like that's what its appearance is, you know. But you've got this path to it and all of this other stuff, like that kind of looks like a tank body. But it's just the kind of like the water and power plant we saw in San Francisco. It's an elevated surface to enclose this thing that's then been coated in concrete to keep it safe. And then, you know, to get to it, you got to go underground. Here's the steps in to the Masonic checkered floor, I might add. Interestingly enough, it's unusual to find black and white checkers so much because it takes a lot more work unless someone wants to do it and they're meticulous. Soviet Union, you have to wonder why they would do it. But yeah, one of the most advanced looking places in the Soviet Union, the very, very first nuclear base. And you could say that makes sense because they're using German technology and it's after the war and they've stolen all the best, you know, stuff. But you could also be like, whoa, this stuff is latest and greatest and has some super occultic aspects to it. Yeah. And it seems more likely to me that they kind of built after they raided it, their bunker around the building and attached themselves to it. And then studying it required themselves to get scientists that Stalin had sent to Novosibirsk and were digging ditches with rusty, broken shovels in pants that were falling down and, you know, 2 left boots. You know, like he had to find these guys that didn't have a lot of life left in them and pulled them out and brought them back and had them work on the Soviet nuclear project and the Soviet space project. And it's all kind of interesting that this all happened right here in Lithuania. So it's a lot harder for them to suppress the existence of this old base. You know, people know it exists if they want to know, but that's about it. They don't talk much more than that. And you're not going to see. I mean, I never got to see like this. You know, for instance, they didn't show all of. They just might show the front room. Not most of the deeper parts of it. But there's a guy with a baby at a nuclear base in Lithuania. So
I found it.
yeah, all right. Ooh, there you go. And that looks totally reasonable.
And it's indeed in that area.
Near a lake.
I was looking here.
Exactly where you want to put a nuclear structure. I think we should start looking into nuclear disasters in the Soviet Union, of which I can think of maybe 24 good ones that have happened, and especially the good ones are in the 50s, because you've got rivers that are completely filled where they just dumped stuff. And it seems like if they did that, it might be because they didn't understand what they were doing, and they didn't actually understand what it was that they were working with, that they just emptied it out, trying to bury it, trying to get it out, and and it killed a bunch of people. And this is like a Chernobyl in the 50s.
This is Chernobyl in the real. This is Oshorsk.
Right. That lake, though, who doesn't want to go swimming in that lake in 180 years or something when it's safe?
You can't swim in that lake permanently.
I heard in 180 years, or is it 180,000 years? I don't know. You're right. There's some.
Yeah, make that 180,000 years. This city was a hidden city. This thing was only this city only got known after communism fell.
And now it's just a closed city. You know about it, but you better not go.
You can't go. It's not a you better not go. You can't go. You're not getting in.
Right. But are there any people still living there?
What was that?
Ethan, what? Ethan?
I was just saying.
You're breaking up.
Or you're pulling up information. That's the next lighthouse screen. I was just trying to tell you guys the lighthouse that I'm heading towards right now.
I'm
hear.
No,
I didn't quite get that. As he's pulling up information, what?
I don't know if you guys can hear me, but I'm just heading towards the lighthouse right now.
Oh, headed towards the bridge? Okay, I'm going to cut to you then.
No, I'm heading towards a lighthouse right now.
Lighthouse. Oh, okay.
Fort Bonita Point.
You got your lighthouses.
Sorry if that's a trigger. Do you want to look a little closer at the lake while he's headed towards the LH?
This is where the nuclear plants sit. Like
whoa. Stop there for a second. I'm gonna go back to Ethan for a second to make sure I'm not missing anything. It looks like we're getting to that lighthouse. We're not there yet. Okay. Now back to your star map. Look what you got here. Look at all that. Wow. So you've got new paths and you got old paths. You can see which paths are old. You know, look at how old some of those roads are.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's so this is a continual use city, eh? Are there people that still live here that just can't use the lake that live in the city?
Yeah, there's plenty of people that there's a documentary out. I'm not sure if it's on Netflix, but it's called City 40.
Okay.
Look that up.
I shall.
That is definitely worth watching.
I got a story called City 23, but patent pending.
You can actually see where the city ends. Like this is walled off. The checkpoint, and this is all walled off.
So Stalin took a bunch of people and put them on trains and sent them out into the middle of nowhere. But the funny thing is, because of the qualities of those people, those places ended up being sequestered geniuses. And so it could be, you know, on one hand, the story is that these sequestered geniuses built all this stuff. On the other hand, it could be that he just didn't trust them. He wanted them removed. On the other hand, it could be that this is just where all that stuff was. And so Russia controlled it.
You do know why it's called City 40?
Well, I mean,
this was one of 70.
Yeah. Because they're numbered. They had fake maps that had fake roads, and they had real cities that had no roads to them, and you had to go through state parks and all kinds of things that had guards to get to the paths to them. And then they'd bring in resources to these cities that no one else could get to. And then these people lived in complete isolation, which is why in the 60s particularly, there were numbers of protests from people in these cities because they were completely out of touch with the rest of the Soviet Union, and they thought of themselves as equals to Berkeley, or
The funny thing is, if you watch that documentary, the people in Oshorsk actually live quite a good life compared to all the others in Russia. A lot of people in Oshorsk will never leave Oshorsk because of the financial security.
Yeah, you get bananas in tin boxes. It's amazing. I've heard that though. You have kids visit their family once a year or something like that. Their uncle and aunts and their cousins that live in one of the they're professors and they work at one of the major cities, one of the numbered closed cities, and then that'd be the reason you get to go there. And when you go there, they have bananas. They have access to cocoa powder.
Yep.
They have canned condensed milk. You know what I mean? They have things there, the military grade things, spam kind of things. Things that people need. They don't get a lot. So yeah, it's better. Plus, it's not just that. You've got theaters, you've got movie theaters, but you've also got old traditional theaters. They're doing plays that are written by people in Novosibirsk that you'll never hear about because they're written by someone within the last 80 years, and it might be popular to the right people in that region, but it's probably never going to go anywhere that you're going to hear about it. And music and orchestras that will play songs hundreds of thousands of times before the building collapses without ever being, maybe now, recorded, but you got to know about the names of these little tiny theaters if you're going to want to find those things. And they're all in the pockets of the snow. Look at all these pools you found too, all around this area, these circular pools.
Yeah, it's like being bound.
It's not just in the area, Andreas. Look, it's everywhere here.
Yeah. Very similar to Argentina, all the craters.
Entire bomb Tartaria. And everyone who tells me, fuck a big one.
I think Ethan's at the lighthouse.
There. Yeah, I think Ethan is.
No, I'm at the Nike missile battery.
Ooh.
And then also heading towards the lighthouse.
Oh.
You know what? The excuse they give for those pits being glaciers retreating. Can you explain to me why there's no pits here? Like none? And it's full of them here?
Go back for a second. Where there's none?
I go too fast again. This is the west coast, the east coast.
So we'll see what is. Can you guys hear me at all?
Yeah.
Yeah. Hold on.
Yeah.
We're gonna go back to you. I think the reason, by the way, on the East Coast, it's less because it looks like it comes from that direction. It comes from a major disaster somewhere in the Semitic Middle East, like somewhere, or even Dome Rock in Palestine has been suggested recently. And I'm starting to understand why. There's no logic to it. But like we've been saying about this sort of Atlantean idea of there being multiple colonies, it seems like anywhere you see one of the Our Lady's machines, these Notre Dame cathedral machines, there was probably some amount of destruction. You look at Caracas in Venezuela, it's just bad. So it does look like it comes from a direction, though.
Are you guys able to see this by chance?
Yeah.
Yep.
And so this is a lookout point, I guess.
The Nike missile battery.
Huh. So this is where they keep all of the, or did they keep missiles, or where? What is the Nike missile battery?
Yeah, supposedly this is where they kept some of their missiles.
Interesting.
Oh yeah, there's a lot of stuff in there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Holy shit, that whole area is filled with stuff.
Basements.
Underground tunnels. The law.
I'm gonna try to go into this building, but I have a feeling it might give out on me. But I'm gonna try.
There's been recently this article about the Tesla tunnels in terms of the company Tesla, and people keep trying to say it sounds kind of ridiculous and all this other stuff, and they're like, how is it gonna happen? And but you look into it, it's not as ridiculous as it sounds. Like, it's probably more just soft disclosure, because otherwise, why are they trying to build these super fast jet tunnels that can send a Tesla car without wheels on a ramp, through these boring tubes in places that supposedly there are already rail tracks that exist above ground, and they're like, we know that there are those tracks. Why would they then build these other things unless they're already there, which makes the most sense. And they're starting to adjust them and get people used to the concept of being able to load your car into a chute and then it gets sent somewhere really fast. And that's and that's going to be the most convenient way for travel, is you'll get your car and you'll put it in a chute. It's going to go to 300 miles an hour or something like that, and it'll load onto a line of other cars, and it'll be a lot safer because you'll be able to take your pod and get it back onto a road afterwards. But yeah, these places clearly all have examples of that technology. The old hospitals all sent notes in these tubes that went through these vacuum systems, 13 floors. Even the hotels had these vacuum tubes that could send notes up to the 13th floor before they had their phone systems installed.
Oh yeah, I remember those.
Yeah, and they tore them all out. Why? So you wouldn't remember. But you remember. Remember.
Yeah, but they don't mind you remembering.
I remember.
They want your kids remembering. That's the problem.
Yeah. Interesting. Yeah, because you just sound crazy when you're like, I used to send notes uphill both ways.
That's it. Exactly that. We lost Ethan, I think, going into that bunker. Messed his up, to put it nicely. Here, duck prevention. Did you hear that? Duck prevention. I was actually paying attention to my words.
Nice. Gotta prevent the duck.
I laughed so hard at that. Seriously, I laughed so hard at that duck.
I have to do it. I already made one mistake. I don't know if anyone else has. I think you guys have been pretty careful. But I said something once, and I was like, oh, man, of course. Hypocrite Andreas.
I'm seriously trying to pay attention. The occasional bleep will always fly out, but
at this point, I'm pretty sure that that's obviously not their biggest issue, and it's bigger issue to them is just information.
Yeah.
And
that's becoming pretty damn clear pretty fast. There you go.
So even that might work as a duck, just for this, just in case.
So we technically we don't have to censor the cursing, but we have to censor the recent Tartarians.
Yeah, we should really stop talking about the truth.
Yeah.
That, or at least
Yeah.
put like, could we put like a blurry, pixelated picture of like, I don't know, just anything. Whenever we are talking, forever.
Let's see. It's 2 hours now.
Yeah, this has been pretty good. I guess. I mean, this for a tartar source I'm included on. I'm pretty happy. Is there anything else that we should look at or talk about?
Not necessarily. I'm still working on my.
Lean, did you have anything that you wanted to show also?
Sorry.
Lean,
Oh,
did you have?
I just want to show you the map.
Cool. Yeah, you pull it up. Let me know when you're ready.
Yeah, I showed you before, but I think it's good timing to show again. Is there's a like a site in the Siberia? Okay, can you see my screen?
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah, I want to show you some picture from Siberia, some satellite image. Oh, here.
Nuclear star forts.
This is not I don't think it's a new structure because it's very
wow
in a very remote
Yeah.
remote area. So it's
iced over a bit, but you can still
yeah.
see the shape.
And it's a very in a very isolated part of Russia.
It looks like there's not a lot of water on the desert rock. Am I wrong? And then there's a lot of ice on the on the wall there.
Yeah, so this is a very artificial structure.
Wow.
Okay. Yeah, and
it's correlating with what we're seeing with the adaptation of a lot of these buildings, you know, finding the edifices in the Star Force and lighthouses now, just adaptations of the technology, nuclear bases, things like that. And then they'll be like, oh, you can't go there because there was a disaster, which might be true, might not, but it could very well be. It's just that who's to say we understand? I mean, they say in the Bible that you can't be too close to the Ark of the Covenant or it'll kill you. So any of this sort of technology could be dangerous.
Yeah, and yes, and in this picture you can see this like I'm not sure if it's a city or street or some kind of a grid, network or grid.
Yeah, I have some of these areas marked down as well.
Yes, and it's not very nature for me. It's a nature.
It could be nature, but then
could be nature.
Areas there don't really show any of these signs. It's only very specific areas that show that fractured pattern.
But weather would change things like that. So the fact that it's in an area that has a very particular climate that doesn't have weather changing, it's almost desert-like, that could also affect why it hasn't changed so much over the time. But it looks like there's an area that things grew and other things didn't grow. And the things that didn't grow are paths. I mean, right? You could look at them as cracks that are broken up, but gosh, those are big cracks. And wouldn't it be inverted? Most of the time when you see that, it's the other way around, where the cracks are darker because they've opened up, and the center spots are crusted, so they're dried out and lighter.
Yeah, but if you consider in this area, it's over 1 kilometer. Can you see this?
Huge, yeah. About the size of a town.
Yeah, it's just about the size of a small town or small, larger village,
Right.
and this area is not is several kilometers. You see, can you see this? If you go this from this point to this point, it's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's over 5 kilometers. So it's a huge area. And let's go.
It makes sense that there would be you see these lakes, so it could be that's also, you think of 5 kilometers here, a kilometer there. You've got burrows around water sources.
Also, you can check out this very straight
artificial
coastline. Yeah, it's like a very artificial coastline.
With points, yeah.
Yeah.
Man, you know, I totally see what some people say when they see like biological shapes, like, you know, giant Lepislacont Leviathan fossils. There's something to that too. Looking at the best way to describe how some of this could happen if it wasn't synthesized by humans or by, you know, something else, is by like animals. You know, if this thing was biology, if there's a certain amount of biology, then you can imagine like the onion wall breaking up and shattering too. But that also plays into this whole idea of like a living city. So this area here, yeah, in Sibirsky.
This area, I think could be a very ancient metropolis.
Look at these theoretical volcanoes, right? You've got these orange iron, lots of iron around this area, clearly.
Metro, it's like an ancient port city.
How close can you? Is this is a photo, eh? Can we see like closer? Like how I was curious about the forest, how much removal of the trees. It looks like there's been a lot of removal of trees in that area, or nothing's growing. That looks like a painting. Wow.
Hey, you gotta keep in account that this is way above the pole circle.
Oh, okay. Right. So there's more grassy plains then.
If you look at my screen for 1 second, I'll show the general.
Really quickly. I'm gonna look. 1 second, Lynn.
Okay.
Look. This is where it is.
Yes.
You went so fast. Can you zoom out just on your way out again? Look how close it is to the pole. There you go. See, it's about Alaska. Can you go to where Alaska and Russia touch? So this is interesting right here. When people say you can see Russia from their backyard, go down south of this a bit also to the line. Follow that land bridge. Check out that land bridge.
This one.
Yeah. This is a very interesting path. It's not a full land bridge at this point, but clearly was. This is where you'll find lots of aboriginals that connect the ancient Japanese to the ancient Tartarians to the ancient Taiwanese. Before, you know, the Aidu and the Algonquan, and we've now been finding redhead Maori and different kinds of people in New Zealand, all kinds of boatsmen tribes that lived in these areas and escaped out of this spot, which have become grasslands and no longer supported the life of the giant mastodons and hunting animals. Back to you, Lynn. Sorry, I just wanted to get that. Do you still have up the Do you still have up your photos, Lynn?
You may have lost Lynn.
Oh dear. Oh dear.
Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear.
Terribly embarrassing. All right.
Absolutely not desired.
This is not cricket at all. All right. I think we've gotten to a point, though, where we've shown quite a bit. I think the basic thing that I want to pull away from this, like, is that there's an association with nuclear power plants and the Roswells that there are around the world. In
You got the association with nuclear power plants. I got one in, yes, Nathan, the Netherlands, yet again.
the Netherlands.
This was a suspicious location going like, you've got a star fort here,
Yeah.
which is a small one.
Oh, that one's sly. I like that one. Wow. You know what that looks like? Put a big G right in the center of that, apparently.
Yeah. That's it, right? Put
Or a
big
swirly,
there you go.
or a swirly backwards one to be the Disney D. But either way, it's right there. You all see it. It's a
Yep.
baseball diamond. Baseball as a diamond, ladies and gentlemen.
So we got one here. That's a small one.
Wow. So you're getting the feeling that a lot of them lay out at, you could have small points that sort of guard a center area. The way these each larger Starfort cities that are made up of the points that are made up then connect to make a larger superstar across the Earth, from one star to another across maybe 6 stars.
Oh yeah, that could well be possible. But this is the nuclear plant.
Mm-hmm. Lynn, you back?
Lynn is back, but currently not hearing us, I'm afraid.
Oh dear.
Oh yeah, very done.
So
What
who's
would
all here?
Brian Boitano do? Sorry?
What would Brian Boitano do?
Sorry. I just,
I love that. That's something. Oh my gosh. Now it songs in my head. All right. Is there 4 people? We lost.
Yep.
yeah, but we're trying to get Lynn's mic
Is
back
Ethan
on.
still alive
Yeah,
after his last?
I'm
Okay,
sure,
I'm back.
that he's in the tunnel
So,
right
I
now.
lost my.
What? Okay.
Hey, what's up,
internet.
Lynn? Do you think you can, if you have those? Did you have to restart? Do you have those
Okay.
photos up still? The last ones you were showing of the water around the Soviet town. Mike is looking
So
at
can
nuclear
you,
power
can you-
plants.
Oh,
Can you
I want to
see?
see that.
Oh, you want to see that?
Can you see? Can you see my screen?
Let's see. Hold on,
Yeah,
we got-
here's one nuclear power plant. Yeah, here's
Okay,
we're
but
here.
I cannot hear Mike and Andreas.
You
I
No,
cannot,
no, you can't hear
I
me.
cannot hear them.
You can hear me?
Oh my.
Well,
I can hear you. Yeah, Brandy,
Oh,
I
that's
can hear
great. That's funny.
well,
Okay.
maybe Brittany, you can just
It's
you can
funny.
just tell
So
me.
I think I better rejoin.
So wait,
Okay.
Wait, wait,
Go ahead,
Can
wait a
rejoin.
moment. I try to rejoin.
okay. All right. So,
So,
right now
yeah.
you're looking at nuclear plants. Cool.
We've been noticing nuclear plants and secret plane labs and
Mhm.
radio bases and lighthouses. And I'm wondering how far back this goes, because what you basically have is, what are these things that are so far out that you guys control, that are so highly technological? Oh, well, they are our highly advanced, highly secret military projects, right? That's what they are. And so they end up doing a lot with them. And as time's gone on, they've affected them in a lot of ways. So we found the Lithuanian first Soviet base that looks like their Roswell. We found this Novosibirsk. Where was the one you were just, the Borcels?
Yeah, Borsela,
Where's Borsela? Where is that?
Zealand.
Aha,
Okay.
right. The
Okay, I'm
Netherlands?
back.
Sorry. Hey, what's up, Lean? You hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you now. Okay.
Excellent. Let's try
Uh,
again with the screen
Yes,
share.
let's try again. So,
I'll let you have a little privacy there for a second.
okay. Contact.
Yeah, there's a lot of things going on recently where I feel like none of the technology that is supposed to work easily for everyone else works at all for me. Like all the Google stuff and all the all this stuff is starting to get glitchy, and only stuff that works is the stuff that we're building in free software. I don't know if it's just because they're taking it personally, or the code is.
Ah.
Well, yeah. So we're looking at these nuclear power plants. Russia and China have nuclear power plants that are in several places, and Russia actually has become the monopoly in building new nuclear power plants across Europe. And there's, I think, several quasi-government run. That is to say, the government owns them 51%, but then these oligarchs, these cartel-like oligarchs, run the power plant manufacturing, and they put them in. They've got great ones in France, they got great ones in Germany, and supposedly they're supposed to be shutting down all of these power plants, which tells me that they're not, and they're just disconnecting them from the grid or something, or using them for different purposes now because they need more of the energy directly.
Well, and what about the other, like the mills that they're turning into hydroelectricity plants, or like they're renovating all these other things that once had a completely different function, supposedly? I thought that was kind of interesting because I had a friend that worked on a hydroelectric renovation, and I tried to ask a little bit of specifics and for pictures or whatever, because it's, something that I hadn't ever heard was being done, or I didn't really know much about, but it was like an old mill that I don't even know.
Right.
But now,
Well, I mean, it's major security. Someone could blow up a dam, is their story forever. I went to the Iguazu Dam, and I'd have my passport to see the dam. All these in circumstances where it was like everyone has to be documented and witnessed. They know that no one's coming there to cause some major issue, because it is a lot of energy, but also probably, and also the environmental disaster hazard if someone were to actually be serious. But the technology itself, like it's dangerous stuff because so high voltage direct current electricity. And so that's the other thing about like the Dutch are doing induction and conduction. They're using different systems to make kite turbines that are on strings, so you can lift them and lower them with the wind, because a pole, it's not this, but remember Benjamin Franklin with his string key kite. So there's a point to that also, is that they want to do an induction to a point where they can connect it to something. And we're hearing about the dead cows. Everyone's saying there's, is this Lynn, you got the picture?
Yeah, I am on the Apple Maps. So we are just looking at this area, and in this area, you can see have many been bombarded by some kind of unnatural don't know which kind of force. And in this area, it's like Manhattan. This area is equal to Manhattan, slightly larger than Manhattan in New York City. So it's like
really a similar layout too. You've got the river,
yes,
like the Hudson, the islands.
Yeah, and this is very artificial coastline, and so I'm thinking maybe this is an ancient port city. Because can you see this is 30 kilometer, right? So it's almost 100 kilometer from here to here. It's almost 100 kilometers. It's larger than Tokyo Bay.
If you look at how big the some of the American cities become, like the Los Angeles area, it could well be possible, man. Definitely.
Yeah, so it's possible. It's a very, very ancient city, and then this you can see this. Sorry, I cannot not get better resolution because of this. This is better. This is better. So it's been like a systematic destroy, right? because if you
Yeah, it looks
too
perfect, doesn't it? It's just all too.
yeah, it's areas, it's huge areas just fit into a huge city area, right? It's huge, and if you go here, it's like outside the city, and you no longer
No holes whatsoever.
no longer have this no longer have this kind of strange lake.
I have a similar location near Sakhalin Island in Russia. I'll share my screen.
Yes, there's other places just looks like this kind of situation.
Think there were buildings there
So
that
it's
were destructed, or do you think that it was just land that's been?
And what they give as an excuse is that these are glaciers that are retreating. Like
Okay.
here you can see stuff that looks like a city.
Yes, you can no longer see any building or.
That's the thing about it that makes me suspicious, that they tell you that there was nothing. I would be able to go along with the story that this was natural if they just admitted it was bombardment. But by pretending that basically nothing happened and this just peaceably melted over a long period of time seems suspicious. It's like, okay, clearly something shattered and made this happen. And landed in these spots, whether it be giant chunks of ice that landed because they shot out above the mouth of a volcano, or whatever their official narrative should be. There should be more to it than just peaceable melting. And yeah, the idea that this happened in just these zones, and we're finding them just around these major cities, and that they're supposed to have happened millions of years ago, but these major cities all had these problems only a few hundred years ago or 1,000 years ago at the most. It seems like there's enough evidence for it to be something synthetic.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh, it just doesn't look great.
But also, like, we're talking somebody, like, so always trying to figure out how someone else's crazy narrative can make sense. Hearing people talking about these things being animals has led me to think more and more about mushrooms and lepisthecons, the ideas of nature creating pathways that work sort of like cellular organisms. So these are super cellular organisms built up on land masses of nets of organisms, not just microbes, but trees. And so you create these openings and paths. If you look at this from above a little bit further out, you see a big mouth, and then you see a very small exit stream. So there's a natural channel that flows here too. And from that, you have fish that are flowing in and swimming out that are following a path. You have river runoff, and then you have salt water flowing in. So you have desalted water that's exiting this system. So, I mean, it makes sense also naturally for this to function, because as a milieu of a habitat or an ecosystem, this is what super complex amounts of organisms working together would naturally form. Except for the part where you have a clear sign of a disaster.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah,
and
so
then
you can
also, can you zoom out really quickly for a second, Lean? Just a little bit.
So no, where are you looking again? I gotta write this down and get back to like resolving the answers here, your questions.
The other thing I noticed was the bombardment looks like it's right at the neck of this thing. If this is a thing, like this landmass, you've got an island which is like a head.
Do you have the latitude and longitude somewhere listed on here, or what you're near?
Yeah, Lean, what's the name of this place?
this place would be, let me check.
Zoom out like pretty far so we can see it on the Earth.
Yeah, it's called
Chukotka.
Chonskia.
Chonskia,
Russia.
Chonskia.
Chonsky Rayon.
Yeah.
Chukotka.
Yeah.
Chukotka. Russia. Okay.
In Chukotka, we drink very many vodka.
I'm gonna use the bird. I'm gonna use the duck for that one. Just kidding.
Awesome. Yeah, what the heck?
What?
Yeah. So wow, this lake is circular lake. So just 100 meters. So maybe it's like a park.
Whoa, there's like a spinning island kind of there too. I mean,
And
because it
yeah,
could be
and
a
then,
floating ice island.
yes. Also you can check out this area is almost
Square.
square. Yes, almost square.
What
It's
the heck?
so unnatural. It's so unnatural.
There's a lot of
yeah.
weird shaped, oddly, I guess, shaped lakes, especially in the
Mhm.
Midwest.
This-
If you're looking,
This is interesting, yeah.
ridiculous.
If they're hidden like that.
Yeah.
And yeah, the thing is, looking at this, it's all at the neck of this location. Like if
Yeah.
you look at it, if you pull out all the way, look at this this as
Oh.
the neck, and then
my.
above
Yes, neck.
as sort of a head, you know.
Mhm.
So it's decapitated this thing essentially.
Yes, and this area, this Manhattan area, is like a business.
It could be stone. It looks pretty.
Yeah, it's like a white city, right? It's white. If I want to build a white city,
Mhm.
I would choose somewhere like this place, right? This area,
Totally.
right?
Basements ready
Because-
to go.
Yeah, because if
Underground tunnels already.
if you have ship came from north, then the ship will go along this way, right? Then it will arrive in this area, right?
Mhm.
So it will be like an international port, a very good location. It's like a wonderful location in this area, right? So you may have some port building in like this area, but you cannot see clear image. It's been like covered by ice
Find
or
something.
snow. Yeah, but you can see something like
Wow. Yeah.
like being
Have you
And
seen
there-
that where they attach electrical? You soak a piece of wood in baking soda water, and then you put two nails on either end of the board, and you electrocute one end, the other end, like a light bulb. It shoots through the wood, and it makes an electrical path that looks just like that, where it expands out into different crevices in a fractal path.
Mhm.
So using electricity and mercury, and I'm, again, we're entertaining a few theories today, mainly because there's just been so many of them that seem to be coming together that it just seems worth, at least as a group, noting them as we're in a study group. So understand that we're not necessarily suggesting the world was filled with mercury yet or something, but it is something that's come up a few times. And this idea of magnetism, electromagnetism, kinds of metals that we're finding in the seawater now that are in high quantities, and we're like, why is there so much of it? That used to be used in these paths for creating electromagnetic borders for these electric star forts. And now those areas a lot of the time are either completely devastated or hidden by nuclear power plants or advanced research bases.
Well, these if we get on the Foundry here, and I'm going to go on there later, but there's a lot of alchemy and old chemical,
Right. And
just
that's what-
minerals, deposit, everything. Those files are up there, so I need to get looking on that now.
That's the deal right now. It seems like we're looking through so much stuff we have on the Foundry, trying to put together some sort of a coherency of a way to call this a hypothesis, because there's so much information now. We've got enough of it that we can pretty much put together an informatic that connects these things to moving electrical mechanisms around the star forts that were guarded by these starports that have, lighthouses or, bases, gun turrets, batteries, tunnels, all these systems that are connected by the infrastructure that exists around starforts. And then this devastation, which is like, it's invariable. We find it everywhere. Except for, a few miles away from the town, admittedly.
I'll get into those docs tonight and see if I can't find anything on Mercury and like the rivers or whatever you guys are trying to look into, and see if I.
Mercury rivers. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
Did Nathan ever come back on and talk about that?
No, I think he disappeared. Is there anything you want to show, Brittany? Do you have anything?
Oh gosh, I think not. I mean, yeah.
You want to save it?
I think I'm going to save it because I'd like to have a little more polish when I'm going into the vital force science. I wonder too, is it Lynn? Leon? I know he was Gary.
Yeah.
So I kind of wanted your perspective just when I go in to talk about the vital forces and sciences and just education, your background on that. So maybe a radio chat or just some direct messages to you with some questions I have. For education, and the way that we've been educated is, I think, substantially different, and that will help me, I guess, moving forward too.
Okay.
So, yeah, I'll send you just a few questions I have, and maybe next week we can get after some of my stuff.
I love that living star fort.
Okay, sounds good.
Okay.
Sorry?
I love that living star fort you just pointed out. It had all the trees planted around it so as to create like a rooting system to make the wall.
Oh, you want to see a real cool one?
That's so cool.
With trees, that is, because there's plenty of cool starports, but this one in particular is pretty damn nice and impressive to begin with, because it's next to the freeway. And again, you can see the truck, see the car, and then look at the trees. They are humongous. No duck needs again.
Wow.
This guy is so cool. I want to have that guy's farm. Look at that. Whoa. He's got like a little wall of forest trees. That's pretty neat. And then notice how all of the triangles are cut to make that perfectly. Well, this has been really good, guys. I like this.
Yeah, it's really good.
Well, that's what we do on a weekly basis if you join.
And that goes for the rest of you at home as well. All right. Thanks a lot for watching.
Yeah, thanks for letting me tag along. That was awesome.
Definitely.
Yeah, thank you.
Guys.
Thank you all.
Brittany, I'm so glad you joined us. I can't wait to do this again because I know you've got a lot to share. So I'm glad that you were able to be here. And Lynn, this is awesome. I'm always glad you're here. Mike, you're a superstar.
Thanks, man.
I love it.
Bye, guys.
All right, catch you guys.
Bye. Take care.
Cheers.
Have a good day. Cheers.